In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Hascon exclusive Starkiller action figure for the Black Series 6-inch line. I would argue that this is probably one of the most highly anticipated Black Series action figures Hasbro's ever released. Starkiller's kind of been in the works and in the talks for, about 7 years now at this point. I do recall he was originally in the fan vote that Jaina Solo ended up winning. I think he came second place at that time, second or third. I know it was between Jaina, Starkiller, and Darth Talon at the time, and after that vote, a lot of people were happy we got Jaina, and myself included, but a lot of people, including myself as well, were kind of disappointed that Starkiller was kind of in limbo, and we didn't know if Hasbro would ever get around to it, because at that time, Hasbro was very selective about which expanded universe characters were going to get an action figure. We were getting Revan and Jaina, obviously, which are no-brainers, quite frankly. But at that time, it seemed Hasbro was more focused on a sequel trilogy, or original trilogy. Even prequel trilogy wasn't getting a lot of attention. But fast forward to 7 years later, and we finally have them. I do recall hearing a rumor about this set about a year and a half ago now at this point, that the set was basically in the works of we were going to get a Starkiller, and he was going to be a con exclusive of some sorts, whether it was Hascon or San Diego, whichever. And it ended up being Hascon, and then it was going to include 2 stormtroopers going along with it, which I understand a lot of people aren't too happy about the 2 stormtroopers, one mainly being the price. This did escalate the price significantly, probably an extra $50 even, just between the 2 stormtroopers. Personally, I'm happy with it because I actually don't currently own any plain white stormtroopers in my Black Series collection. I used to have the original, but I sold that one several years ago. Part of me is kind of wishing I didn't do that, but you know, time's gone on, and I'm happy to have these 2 now. And I have the Stormtrooper Commander and like the Incinerator Trooper, which is reviewed on the channel. A few of the specialty Stormtroopers, but I don't have any plain white ones, so it's a nice treat for me. And now we have Starkiller. So I would argue this is probably going to go down as one of the top 5 best Black Series action figures of the year, maybe even all time. I mentioned in my Darth Malgus review recently that he might go down as the best Black Series action figure, and that still might be the case. I think Starkiller will easily be a number 2 or number 3. It looks perfect. It looks exactly like Sam Witwer, who portrays as Starkiller, and then of course ends up voicing Darth Maul. It's great to see that he's played a big part in the Star Wars universe after all these years. So it's a perfect likeness to him, and there's just so many cool accessories about it. He is getting standard release, which at the time of this video has been up for pre-order, and I'm pretty sure it's just coming with what you see on his person here, where it's just the figure, the one head, and then the one lightsaber, and I think that's it. None of these extra accessories that you see down here, which we'll dive to here in a minute. So, without further ado, just go ahead and dive into this package here. So I think this package is one of the most special elements about this set. I used to have a t-shirt with this image of Force Unleashed on it, and I recall seeing this for the first time back in 2008 and thinking, wow, that's just so cool. And it's nice to see that Hasbro used action figures for this. As you can see, that stand there, which the stand is right there. Stormtroopers here, and then the Starkiller. Interesting look at that right hand there. So they use the hand where he's gripping the lightsaber, but then they have the lightning sticking out of it. So it's kind of like 2 in 1 there. And then for that hand, he's using the regular Force Lightning. Very nice iconic packaging, or an iconic image. And when I see this, it makes me appreciate that after 15 years, we're still getting Force Unleashed content in some way. And and that's still relevant, and it hasn't faded away in memory. For the rest of the package, not a lot of room here. So there's all the accessories advertised. So we have, was that 8 hands? There's the other 2 right there. 9 hands actually, if you include this accessory here. 3 heads, 4 lightsaber blades, the hilt, the stand, the stormtroopers, and the blasters. What else is there? Then just a description right here. Starkiller and stormtroopers. And then the same image on the back there. Interesting on the back there, they put that the set is 4+, but I don't know too many parents that are going to buy a $110 set for their 4 or 5-year-old. I think Hasbro just kind of has to do away with that at some point. And yes, you did hear that right. This set is $110, which is, despite how outrageous that price is for these action figures, I think it's totally worth it, and I have no regrets about spending that for this. So let's just take a closer look at Starkiller here. And probably one of his most iconic looks. So like I said, I think they got the portrait spot on, about as close as it can get. It's not 100% perfect at some angles. I think at that angle is pretty good. And facing forward looks pretty good. This looks pretty good too. This is with his more neutral expression. And as you can see, this is the outfit he wears on the first mission that you play as him, when you're on the skyhook above Nar Shaddaa, when he goes to confront General Kota. And a very nice outfit. Very torn. As you can see, there's some red blood stains on this, especially right there on the arm. It's very nice. You can tell Starkiller's been through a lot, being such a young man. The armor here, which is a separate accessory. I don't think you could take that off though. There's no pins or anything where you can unplug it and slip it off. I suppose if you really worked at it, where you pop the head off and then move the arms a certain way, you could take it off, but I'm not going to do that, and I don't think most people would, and it's not really necessary. So he has the belt here, which I didn't really discover this until a little while ago. So he has a plug there, and he has a bunch of plugs there for his belt. So I imagine somebody is going to make a custom Sith Stalker out of this. All they would have to do basically is just, the body is perfectly fine for it, and just do a custom helmet that can either fit on top of this head or one that you can just plug in to place here. So I look forward to someone doing that at some point, and I'm sure they will. I haven't seen any yet, haven't had any indication of anyone making it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll make my own someday. Or, another good idea for Hasbro, why not just do a gaming grade Sith Stalker? All they have to do is just reuse the body here, maybe do a little repaint, new head, and there. You got a winning action figure on your hands. So for the pants, not a whole lot to say about that. Wrappings around his boots. Wrappings around his wrists there. The open palm for his hand. Just a lot of nice detailing in him. So yeah, if you got a collection of lightsabers lying around, you could just plug at least, what, 4 or 5, maybe 6 hilts around his belt. So you can easily make a Sith Stalker out of that. So in terms of articulation for him, he is on a ball joint for the head, and his shoulders, which the joint is very nicely hidden at the shoulder there. You can't even tell it's there. hinged elbows, which do go past 90 degrees a little bit, which is nice. Hinged wrists, up and down, and I think up and down as well. And yes, some of the wrists are side to side motion, like this one here. And I think that's pretty much the case for most of these. This one's up and down as well, so that's interesting. As a joint at the torso, you can kind of see there. Of course, joint at the hips. He does not have the swivel thigh, so he's one of the newer action figures that's utilizing the no swivel thigh. Instead, it has the extra articulation in the hips, which I think is the preferred way to go. He does have hinged knees, which go past 90 degrees a little bit, and the joints nicely hidden there too. And of course, rocker ankles. In terms of weapons and accessories, of course, Starkiller is basically a weapon himself. Arguably one of the most powerful force users in Star Wars. As you can tell by that blade popping out that it doesn't really fit on his hilt too well. I've had a lot of problems with that, and there's really no way I can do it too well. But still, here's his hilt. Looks pretty good. I say that's about as accurate as possible with Starkiller. And let's see how this fits on his belt. Personally, I kind of like it right there. It's really nice. Interesting thing about all these blades, too, is they have it cut at the end there, as you can see, between the peg and the actual blade, to where it would be able to fit around the hilt. That extra lip there. But still, that's usually about the most it will fit in. It's interesting that Hasbro included 4 different blades with this. So you have the 2 here, which they look pretty cool as well. I might display them with it every once in a while. As you can see. I'm kind of surprised that Hasbro included the blue blades with this. Yes, Hasbro or Starkiller did eventually use the blue lightsaber, but not at this point that you see for his outfit. And here he is with the normal blue hilt. And let's see how he looks with this. That looks pretty good. It's definitely not, looks a little off because with this outfit I'm used to seeing him with the red blade, and I'm sure most people are as well. But that's still pretty good. The extra accessories, of course, he has the 3 heads. This one's more of his disgusted appearance. I will say that it's kind of hard to get these heads on and off. I have switched between this one here, the one where he's screaming or yelling at someone, maybe in pain, and then this head here, and you really gotta work with it to pry it off and pop it on. So I won't be doing that for the purposes of this video because that might take forever and more editing involved. But you get the idea of what it would look like. Personally, I think this is a really good expression and a really good head. They even got the teeth in there, which is really nice. This one's pretty good too. I would say between the 3, this one's probably my least favorite. Still looks nice for what it is. Then we have the extra hands here. So we got this one here. I'm kind of using the force. The hands are pretty easy to pop in and out. Let's see here. I'll just demonstrate what that's like. No problem there at all. Another hand there for him to hold a lightsaber. This one's kind of like him using the Force. This one's more of an open palm. And this one's an extra one of like him using the Force as well. Then we have these two extra hands of him using lightning. Which there is some concern I have heard addressed in the community. If you have these displayed on him for a long period of time, will they eventually droop over? And I will tell you, I've had this set for about a week now, and I did have it displayed kind of like this for him. Yeah, you gotta work with his weight a little bit. Find that center of gravity and where his balance is. Let's see here. But anyway, with that, it droops over just a little bit, but it's not too bad after 1 week. I have the Hot Toys Count Dooku, which also has a hand and a lightning effect very similar to this, and that droops over terribly after a couple days. This has not done that so much. Of course, if you have a display like this for months on end, perhaps that might start doing that. But after 1 week, not too bad. Still looks pretty good. So they are pretty robust, I would say. And they are all a little slightly different. This one here looks like it's more purposeful around stormtroopers. And the last but not least accessory for Starkiller here is the stand. So you have these three different Force parts here, and it does take a little bit to put together because it does have a specific order you need to put it in. If you don't do it right, you might only be able to fit two of them on here. And they're originally totally flat, and you have to bend them around a certain way. And they all do plug in very specific spots. As you can see, this plug-in's slightly longer than this one, so you gotta work with it a little bit. It's an okay stand. It's not perfect. Can't really get them to actually plug into it too well. But if you work with it, it might be somewhat nice, I guess. As you can see there, it's a Stormtrooper Commander and the other Force Unleashed figures. But something like that. And of course you can kind of see it on the package there. I don't think it's something that I'm really going to be displaying him on a shelf with. Maybe if I have a whole lot of space at some point, which is the ultimate goal, perhaps I'll display him with it. But so far, it's not the most essential accessory. And I almost forgot. You have this extra hand here, this extra Force effect. Kind of looks like you can put a stormtrooper's head around it, something like that. It is a pretty heavy accessory, so that might droop over if you have him displayed with his hand sticking out for a long period of time. And it's just a sculpted hand, nothing articulated about it. And it even stands on its own, no problem. So then we'll move on to the Stormtroopers here. Both the same exact Stormtrooper. You've probably seen a lot of these before anyway, and I've kind of reviewed this on the channel before with Incinerator Stormtrooper over a year ago. Like I said, I know a lot of people say that why did Hasbro have to include these with the set, but I'm kind of glad they did because I don't have these. I do understand and sympathize with the people that say, oh, if they just cut these out of the set, it would have made it like $50. And I totally get that. At this point, we've gotten so many releases of the Stormtrooper in the Black Series line that it just seems like filler at this point. I suppose you could look at it from the perspective, of course, people like me that didn't have the Stormtrooper, this is another opportunity to get them instead of having to get on eBay and spend like $50 for one. But yeah, 110 is a little expensive for action figures. So perhaps they could have done without these. No, but still, it's a nice Stormtrooper design. It's not perfect. I wish he had the holster back here, but he does not. And in some ways, you could look at these as like accessories. These are meant to be just like cannon fodder for Starkiller, for something put this Force Lightning around, something like that, or to reenact what you see on the package there. There's a nice white, and pretty basic. Not a whole lot I can really say about it. Now, he does have the bulge right at the head though, and he does have the hinged shoulders and the flexible shoulder armor there to allow for extra mobility. Now, he does have the hinge at the elbows, and hinged wrists, hinge at the torso, hinge tips, and hinge knees, and the rocker ankles. This is the newer Stormtrooper design, or the more current one. I guess I'll just bring this guy out as well. Here he is compared to the older Stormtrooper sculpt, at least for the helmet. And the bodies are a little bit different. Of course, this one has the holster. This one had the more bowed out legs. And how fitting to have the Stormtrooper Commander here with this set. What more can I tell you about it? I think I've pretty much showed off everything I can. Something like that. So would I recommend this set for your collection? I totally would. Again, it's $110. Yes, it's kind of painful spending that for action figures in this day and age. For 3 action figures, only one of them being brand new. But even being $110, I still think it's totally worth it. There is the single release of Starkiller coming out here soon, within the next year, and that one will only be what, $22.99, $24.99. I don't know what the Black Series prices are these days. It's different across the board, and it seems like they're going up all the time. But if you have the opportunity to get this set, which at the time of this video I still think it's on Hasbro Pulse, where you can buy it right now this minute and have it within a week, I would totally recommend it. Like I mentioned, I think the Starkiller is going to go down as one of the best Black Series action figures ever made. Looks exactly like Sam Ware. I hope we do get more Starkillers at some point in the future. There's so many different outfits that we can make of him. I would really like to see the Raxus Prime one where he has all the wrappings. That turned into a Black Series action figure. I think that'd be really nice. And they have the basic tooling for that. All they have to do is just add some extra accessories, really. So hopefully this is the start of a new wave of Force Unleashed action figures for the Black Series line. So whatever you gotta do, get this guy in your collection if you're interested in Black Series or Force Unleashed in general. I think it's very essential. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be lots more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate your support. and check out some of the links in the description as well. As always, thanks for watching.